10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Growing bolder, what's next?
Hey everybody, we are glad to have you with us. Can you believe it? How did it happen already that it is yet another Friday and another edition of Growing Boulder's What's Next? I'm Bill Shafer with you this weekend. And this particular episode, inspired by the fact that this weekend is Valentine's Day. Now, some people, when you hear that, when some people say, who cares? Others say it's a pretty big deal. What about you? Are you a Valentine's Day person? What are you going to do this weekend? Do you have plans? Are you waiting for something? Does it make you mad? Do you not like the whole thing? Well, drop a comment in the comment box and let us know how you feel, what it does or doesn't mean to you, whether or not you have romantic plans for this weekend. Are romantic dinners out of the question these days because of the pandemic? Are we stuck with a couple of Swanson dinners, a cheap bottle of wine, and Netflix? And is that a bad thing? Why am I giving you all of my best ideas? Well, like I said, this is Growing Bolder, and we're going to talk about love. People don't very often because we snicker, it seems kind of trivial, silly, and unimportant, but honestly, that couldn't be further from the truth, because when you look closely at love, it reaches a lot of different places in our lives. Look, we all want to be proactive about our health, right? We get physical checkups every year. We watch our waistline as best we can. We get our blood work done. We worry about things all the time like cancer and heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease. But there's more out there that nobody ever mentions that can be every bit as important to avoid. Things like loneliness, social isolation. It is out there as we age. I saw a statistic that over 40% of people over 65 admit that they feel lonely regularly, and those are just the people that admit it. And isn't loneliness kind of the opposite of love? I mean, it's a really big deal. It changes people. And you've seen it sometimes, people that are very vibrant and outgoing, involved family people, when they start to withdraw, you kind of notice they lose their spark, they lose their mojo. Loneliness and isolation can make you believe there's no future for you. It can destroy your self-worth, your self-esteem, and as we now know, that can and does affect your health. And we're not just talking about people who are living alone, because there are plenty of married couples out there living with a wall in between them, living without intimacy, without connection. Well, we're going to dive into this topic now because it does affect us all. Whether you're alone, whether you're with somebody, we all need to address where we are, what we want to be, and what it'll take to get there. And we've got a great guest who's going to lay it out there for us now. Her name is Susan Winter, and she's going to inspire us, probably scold us, maybe even threaten us, but hopefully empower us. She's a relationship coach who sees the big picture, the one most of us lose sight of. She's going to hold that big mirror in front of us and make us take a good look. She's a best-selling author of the books Allowing Magnificence, Breakup Triage, The Cure for Heartache, From Negative to Positive in 20 Minutes, and my least favorite of her books, Older Women, Younger Men. We'll talk about that more. Let's say hi to Susan Winter. Susan, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you doing? Nice to talk to you today.
Well, we're grateful to have you here. Let's start with you. You've done a lot in your life. Tell us a little bit about your background, and of all the things you could have done for a career, why did you end up settling on relationships?
Believe me, Bill, I didn't mean to get here. This is one of those interesting things. Sometimes life puts you where you really can best serve. It's so interesting. I started as an opera singer, which is why I moved to New York City. Then I decided, well, I'm tired of auditioning. That's most of my life. I got a job as a corporate spokeswoman. I represented about half of the Fortune 500 companies in disseminating language that was easy for their viewers and everybody else to understand. Then I ended up on my own financial news show. It's now CNBC, but at the time it was called Financial News Network. And I loved interviewing people live. So I was the interviewer. I took a break. left New York at a very dangerous time, built my dream home, vacation home, about an hour away in the country, moved there. I had literally retired at about age 38. And it was on a golf course. And I thought, okay, I'll play golf. I'll be a consultant, get out there. There was nobody my age. There were older men that, had had a very bad divorce, and they were young guys with ambition who had left. And I went to a local gym, and there was this gorgeous young man, 20 years younger. He flipped from 18 to 19. I flipped from 39 to 40. And our relationship in this very rural area was, if I say controversial, you might as well put a scarlet letter on me. Just, I was fodder for everybody. It was terrible. And I lived through that for 7 years, which, it's so uncomfortable. His family basically said it's her or us. And I suffered so badly to love somebody that was not allowed. This love was not allowed. Had I just treated him like a toy, everybody would have been fine with it. And then I thought, if I'm living this, what about other people? And I began to do some research, got a book contract as a first-time author, had a platform, had something to say. Love can exist with an older woman and a younger man, not about opportunity, not about manipulation, not about mommy syndrome. It could just happen that way. Look at, Emmanuel Macron, right? So you can't call these guys toy boys. And my goal was just to let the world know that this can and does exist. That's it.
All right, we're talking with Susan Winter, relationship expert, explaining kind of how she backed into this through her own personal experience. And, this subject, man, whether it's your example, whether it's an older guy and a younger woman, whether it's just people out there not necessarily even looking for love, but just friendship and relationships. This is a huge topic, and it's getting bigger all the time as we age. As we said earlier, we're finding out how important this is. But Susan, the problem is we always go back in our heads to what it was like when we were 18 or we were 25, and it's not the same. Can you talk a little bit about what does it take to expand our relationships, to have better relationships as we get older?
Oh, wow. So for mature citizens, we are bringing forward our understanding of relationship fundamentals. That's a very good thing. Here, it's positive in that we know how to have a relationship. We've been in long-standing relationships, living together, marriage. This is probably our history. Now, we get into modern dating. If we find ourselves single, we merge into the fast lane. We're at 65 miles an hour, but they're actually going 80. And we're like, oh my goodness, what's a hookup? He ghosted me. What are these things? The bad behavior that we're seeing nowadays that started after the year 2000, when the structure was blown apart as far as traditional relationships. My goal has been, since older women, younger men, to allow for a greater template for more inclusion. And I realized that there was no infrastructure. So when you're going, I don't want a traditional relationship. I want to do what I want to do. I don't like this. I don't like that. You haven't put the pieces together for a soft landing. And many people were crying and confused, and they are still today, which has given me an unexpected career to walk them through an insane world where people are exhibiting bad behavior, and all these individuals want to do is find meaningful connection. Much like you said at the top of the hour, it's so important to have rewarding, meaningful connection with other humans beyond loneliness, partnership, companionship, a sense of belonging. These are essential to us, and partnership has offered this to us in the past.
And I think too, Susan, there's a mistake that we make too, is we jump to the conclusion that we're talking about single, divorced people. Because just because you're married and maybe have been for decades,
Right.
that doesn't mean it's okay to be on cruise control in your own relationship and in your own life. And as we said, sometimes there are married couples who have that wall between them that are anything but fulfilled.
I agree. And this is why the divorce rate's so high. And it's also the reason why some people, and I know quite a lot of them personally, are of a certain age where even though it is suboptimal, even though they know that they are not loved, They know that the other person is there either for money, lifestyle, or they're just too scared and lazy to enter the dating world again. They're too old. They don't want to start all over again. They've made peace with what they've got, and they just muddle through. And that's not a quality life. I do understand. It's a difficult choice, Bill. When do you hold and when do you fold? When do you pick up your winnings, or when do you roll the dice one more time? You've got 45%. You don't like it, but at least it's 45%. Can you roll the dice again at age 60 and get 70%? These are the questions we ask ourselves.
I think we almost have to go back to kind of answering a few questions in our own head, like what is love? Is love is it something that happens by accident and strikes you like in a movie when Cupid fires his bow? Is it a choice? Do we decide? Do we make that decision that, yes, this is where my attention's going to go? How do we even define that in our own heads?
For me, love is a choice. It's an active choice. I need to take responsibility for it. There are some cute little quotes like love just hits you. It's like a virus or it's a cold. And I understand that it feels like that when you suddenly just have your heart blow open. One person, this one individual creates a reaction within you that you're like, where did that come from? Oh my gosh, I'm just so drawn to them. We didn't perhaps expect or weren't looking for it, and they had an effect upon us. But the choice of continuing to involve ourselves in that dynamic, that is a choice. In marriage, it is a choice every day to recommit to that partnership. It is a choice to be active in its growth, to try to continue to court, to try to continue to be interesting to each other, and not to sit back and just go, well, this is it, because that will destroy the relationship.
Do we have more unrealistic standards as we get older? I mean, do we, it is so tough to get out there and to meet people. It's very difficult. And then you finally hit the lotto because you find somebody you can tolerate. And then the next thing you know, you've put all of your attention and focus there, and it's not the right person. And you feel like, well, this isn't for me. I'm never doing it again.
You see, but I'm very much about just continue doing it. I think resilience is something that we all need all throughout life. We are resilient with challenges. We may have health issues. Some people have had financial issues. We have to believe in ourselves and go forward. So I'm an advocate for get in the ring, get ready, be active, try to find love if you want to. If you don't want to date, don't let anybody make you feel guilty. There's a flip side to this, that many people are pressured into being with somebody. They're pressured by society. Valentine's Day pushes their buttons, and they have friends say to them, oh, but I just want you to be happy. There are indeed some very secure singles. There are people who are completely fulfilled with their life, their work, their hobbies, their charities. And for them, maybe if they want a relationship, that's fine, but it's not their dominant goal. There are other individuals that cannot be alone and are really in need of partnership. And without that, they will wither because they are so isolated.
So all right, Susan, I've sort of been holding back on asking this question because it's a big one. And it's one I think we've gotten questions on our Facebook page about this.
Really?
We hear this all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a new tool in the toolbox that we didn't have when we were growing up. And probably, thank goodness, we didn't. But it's this online dating. You can't watch a TV show without seeing 50 ads for, just log on to this website and meet people. What is it like? Is it something you recommend, or should we run like crazy away from it?
I personally don't like it, only because I'm spoiled. Like other people of my generation, I got to meet people in real life. But it is an essential tool because think of this. We've come out of a year of COVID. Many cities were locked down. People want to communicate. They want connection. So what happens is online dating allows you to expand the geography of potential partners. It's really cool. In that way, it's like, imagine it's like being on Facebook, like, oh, I never knew Mary before. She's really cool. Now we've become friends. So technology has allowed us a much wider group from which we could find prospective mates. And in that way, it's wonderful. Now, the pitfalls are the games and the nonsense and the anonymity. Those are the pitfalls, and the bad behavior is rampant.
Yes, I think I've played them all, but no,
Oh,
it's
you
it is funny, isn't it? Because yeah, you don't know who to trust, and then you look at
Yeah.
yourself and you go, "Well, am I being as truthful as I can be?" Also, so anyway, online dating is another tool. It is another way that people can step out. I think, Susan, the most difficult part, whether you're dieting, whether you're deciding to exercise, or wanting to get into running, whatever it is in your life, it's the first step. How do you take the first step? Because usually that is the hardest. So in somebody who's sitting at home and they've been thinking, I'm not unhappy, but I'd really like to find out if there is somebody for me out there. How do you start? What do you do?
Go snoop about. Ask your friends what they use. I am sure that somebody in your social group is on an app. There's Our Time. There's Bumble for women if they want to make the first move and not have guys come after them. There are all sorts of, there's the League for people that have an Ivy education, Elite Singles. I'm not connected with any of these, so I'm not trying to give some kind of endorsement here, but I'm just saying there are a multitude. Coffee Meets Bagel, they just go on and on and on. And the wonderful thing that you might enjoy as you research, there are dating apps that are very specific, very niche, like farmers. If you're a farmer, if you are a golfer, there's fitness singles, if you're somebody who's into fitness. So finding something that you already have in common is a good connector, but ask your friends, step into the waters, have a professional help you if you're concerned, have some good photographs. Let people know straight up that you're looking for whatever you're looking for. You're looking for companionship, you're looking for romance, and understand that you will get a mixed bag. You do not know these people. You don't even know that they are who they say they are. So there are some sites that offer verification, meaning the person is who they say they are. There are some sites that even offer criminal and background checks and financial checks, that if you say you're on Millionaire Match, that you are indeed a millionaire. So there are ways around this. I'd start the educational process. Ask your friends. If you have a friend who's online, go sit next to them when they're snooping around and say, oh, is this how it works? Or swipe. It can be a lot of fun. Look at it like an adventure. You don't have to stay involved, but it could be fun.
Susan, when people come to you, do we all basically, we think we're unique and we think our situations are pretty much up to us. But when people come to you, are they the same basic themes, or are you what are the most common things that you get in people over 50 and people over 60 who really are trying to make that effort to step out?
Of this age group, the most common complaint or concern is, I don't know how to do it. And worse yet, I'm naive about the games that are being played. There could be, for online dating, a lot of bad behavior. People don't understand ghosting. They don't understand stashing. They don't understand the hit and run. They chat you up and walk away. People do not understand that because to our age group, it doesn't make sense. We didn't do it. We were rather straightforward, right? As far as my consultation practice, when I work with individuals, coaching them, the number one relationship concerns are, because people ask me this all the time, what's the crux? What's the one thing that people come to you for? People have a person that they're interested in, who they want to be closer to, and it's not working out. So they're either trying to get over a breakup, they're trying to get back with an ex, they're with a person, they don't know where they stand. So the questions are, do I stay? Do I go? Is there hope? And if there's hope, how can I get to the next good step with this person? Those are normally the questions.
It seems like sometimes we have unrealistic expectations. We want to avoid the hurt and the pain that comes with it, but really that's part of the adventure, and that's part of the, if it was easy, it wouldn't be that big a deal, but it's pretty tough. Can you tell us a little bit, just so we realize that it's something everybody goes through? Did you go through a lot of that as well in your experience?
Oh, I've had heartache. You can't write Breakup Triage if you haven't been sobbing yourself to sleep at 2 a.m. and having conversations with somebody that's not there. I mean, of course, I've had heartache. I've been fooled. I've been dumped. I've dumped people. I've had long-term relationships. I've had relationships I thought would last forever. I've had relationships I didn't want to last forever. You can't really, advise if you haven't been around every corner. And I told you before we went live that I did personal research for myself from like 2004 to about 2008, maybe 2003 to 2008. I purposefully dated the worst men in the world, half my age, no skill set for a relationship. I knew they would buck me off the ride. And I did it because I was trying to speak to, believe it or not, my audience is predominantly millennial. It's everybody. I've got 18 to 70, but I needed to retrace the steps that women were going through in today's world. Even 50-year-olds will be going through this. And I needed to get out there, experience these things with these fellows, get the bad behavior, see if I could find a way around it and how to correct it. It was the best training ever. I sobbed my way through it. I was the lab rat for my own experiment. Then I got smart. Then I learned how to gain admiration. Then I learned how to be resilient. And, it proved my point that a self-possessed, dignified love is the best position from which to enter relationships. Because if you're not open and loving and giving, they have nothing to attach to. So people are so terrified of falling in love and being hurt. Well, they're terrified of being hurt. So they close their heart. And then you've just denied anybody that emotional Velcro because that's what they connect to. Think of puppies, think of babies. It's that unguarded, I'm showing up. So if I can help people, teach them how to be strong in their courage, how to be bolder, right? Then they will have a better chance at love rather than cowering, being guarded, and being defensive.
Well, it's such a great point, and it's a difficult one because I think it's two opposites coming together. You need to be strong enough to allow yourself to be weak, to be vulnerable, because the vulnerability is, in many cases, is where the attraction comes from, the honesty, the willingness to be open, and you've experienced more than your share of heartache and pain, and really it's hard to be. We can't be afraid of that. You mentioned earlier something really interesting to me about there are a lot of us who say, look, I'm alone and I'm fine. I like it the way it is. But we're learning more and more about the power of social connection and how important it is. And it doesn't have to be like a romantic thing. It's just stepping out of your comfort zone, finding like-minded groups, which social media is very helpful at, but just expanding outside of ourselves to give us the ability to be compassionate towards somebody else or to be more active and involved and relevant. How does that play into all this?
I think relevance is a very good point. That's excellent. I think what happens is as people retire, as they're supposed to be living their golden years, there is a loss of identity. There's a loss of connection with what's going on. So staying connected to people and to passions, to things that you love, will keep you alive. Having a mission, having a purpose, feeling that you're needed, not only needed, but wanted. These are important factors that give us a vital life force and make us more enjoyable to be around. So it's kind of a circle, and you're absolutely correct on that point.
Has one of your books kind of like hit the bullseye more than the other? In other words, is there an area that you found particularly interesting to people as we get older?
Oh, boy. Well, people are fascinated about the opportunity, women, to date younger men because unfortunately, men's lives appear to be shorter in length than females. There are a good number of ladies that have their husband pass after some 30, 40 years of 50 years of marriage and are relegated to being alone the rest of their lives. They think. So it had never occurred to them that there might be an opportunity to date the same age and younger. This is brilliant. And there are young men who are genuinely attracted to older women. Now, we understand this if he's 20 and she's a 35-year-old or 40-year-old movie star. But what I find fascinating in my work is I have met some, gorgeous. I've got this male model. He's 40 and television star. The woman that he adores is 65. She's a very good looking 65, solid gray hair. She's 65. Now, don't you know, people are like, oh, but what would he want? He is famous and wealthy in his own right. He's like, she's amazing. She's amazing. So that is a surprise, and that's interesting. You know, men have done this for years. You guys, I think of Larry King, you know, another woman 35 years younger, right? So that part seems to be of interest to people.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I don't like that guy. I don't trust him. I'm gonna speak up on behalf of us older guys out there who
I
there
know.
there are so many. You know, we meet people all the time who have started and ignited romances in their 80s and over, and they're just as they're like a couple of teenagers. And I think what we learn and what we see is that people who share common outlooks on life, you know, they don't want to waste a day. They want to live life to the fullest. They have a sense of adventure and a sense of respect and a desire to make a difference in the lives of others. That's where the magic tends to be. And it's almost like, Susan, I think you're right that if you put yourself not necessarily in an online dating situation, but if you find groups that are based on shared interests and common goals, that's where you find it. Like, people use social media and they meet people from their past, from elementary school, high school, college, that they had forgotten about, and something happens again. It's just, I think your point is, it's a wonderful world out there. Our lives are incredible opportunities to explore, to have our own adventures, and don't shy away from having an adventure because you're worried of what might happen. Step out, see, experience, and learn, because really that's what life is all about, right?
Bill, you're so on point. I mean, you have to be courageous. If you want to stay alive, you need to be doing things that are interesting to you. You need to feel as though your life has purpose. And as far as connecting, I always suggest, if possible, join groups where you have a real interest. You're all about stamp collecting. Meet all your stamp collecting people. And in that group of people, you may find somebody very special, a best friend, a companion, a plus one. In times that I've been single, I've had an East Coast plus one and a West Coast plus one, because I work out of New York and Scottsdale. And so I'd want to go to events and have my plus one with me. Or you might just find romance. And so the worst thing you could do if you were single and looking is to go to a bar or a restaurant bar with your girlfriends or your guy friends and sit there and look around at the room full of people and hope to make a connection. I mean, that's the worst place. I think the best place for people, at least of my disposition, I shine in intimate places where I can speak to you. If I can talk to you, whether it's a coffee shop, a poetry group, a music group, a lecture. I've met people at lectures and seminars. And what it does is it pre-qualifies that person to enter your life because you already have a common interest. Exactly what you said, Bill.
And you have no problem, Susan, initiating conversation. I guess we should probably use that to kind of begin to wrap up. What can we do, whether we're married or single or what, to just put some spark back in our lives?
Find something that you believe in. Find a cause. Find something. You know, our life purpose is extraordinary. Sometimes we know it early on, and sometimes we discover it and it evolves. But find the thing that makes your heart beat faster and follow that. Sniff that out. Follow that trail, because that leads you to where all the goodies are. That's where the magic is. That's where the vitality and the vibrancy is. And the useful and purposeful life design for you is to be as expressive. Life is about growth. Life is about expansion. So allow yourself to be curious. Allow yourself to be adventurous, and allow yourself to tiptoe to the very edge and dip your toe in and get comfortable. That would be my advice.
Well, that's fantastic because it isn't just about the destination. It's about the journey that it takes to get there. All those great movies that we love to see about romances, they're not just about everything going great. We all enjoy the journey and the path that it takes to get us there. Susan Winter, you're fantastic. And
I think
we mentioned, well, Susan is also an author. We mentioned her books are entertaining to read. They're also helpful and interesting. If you'd like to check them out and learn more about Susan too, I urge you to do that at susanwinter.net. And that brings us to our meme of the week. Growing Bolder has become known for our huge collection of inspirational, funny, memorable, uplifting, interesting memes from all kinds of celebrities and leaders and role models and more. And today is no exception because our meme comes from relationship guru Susan Winter, who says something we all need to be reminded of. The heart is far wiser than the mind. Keep that in mind as you go through life and have trouble making decisions. The heart is far wiser than the mind. So folks, when in doubt, listen to your heart. That's where you'll find your answer, because that's where you'll find love. Hey, listen, we're so glad you joined us for this conversation. If you're new to Growing Bolder, there is a lot for you to check out. In addition to our page on Facebook, Growing Bolder is a national TV show on public television. It's a weekly radio show, a wonderful magazine, and I strongly encourage you to check out the website, growingbolder.com. There really is nothing like it out there. And from the website, you can find out about everything else. Check out growingbolder.com. Okay, if I've learned anything from this hour, it's that you have to have, in order to have a great relationship, you've got to be a great partner. I'm going to start by wishing my wife, Mary, a very happy Valentine's Day, and follow it up by wishing you health, happiness, and love this weekend. What a great time for all of us to start growing bolder.
Growing bolder, what's next?